Hello friends, welcome to Selenium Framework Interview Question and Answer Part 1. This is Haradhan once again as usual. Today in these sessions I will try to cover first set of 25 important questions and answers from the Selenium Framework. So whenever you are starting with any kind of framework development from the scratch, right? So definitely you will be facing some struggles, and in the interview, definitely interviewer will ask few questions that what is the test automation framework concept all about, and whenever you are trying to implement right the framework for your project, what are the different struggles you can face, what are the different improvement you can did for your framework like that. So this is Haradhan once again as usual. In case you are new to my YouTube channel, please do subscribe my channel. Do not forget to provide your input or suggestion. So what is framework all about? So you already, in case you are doing some sort of testings with the help of Selenium WebDriver and Java, right? So definitely you are creating some class and then you are writing your script and you are running them in standalone way. But that is not a good practice, because whenever in the real-time project you want to work with Selenium WebDriver, so you have to create a proper framework, and after that, once the framework development is done, you can easily maintain it and work it on that using that framework. So a framework defines a set of rules or best practice which user can follow in a systematic way to achieve the desired result. In a test automation project, user to perform different tasks by doing different types of files. To organize and manage all the files and to finish all the tasks in systematic approach, user should use a framework. Automation framework is not a single tool or process, but it is a collection of tools and processes working together to support automated testings of any application. It integrates various functions like library, test data, and various reusable models. So in some of the automation framework, in case you are using EFT, some of the kind of integration are already available, just like of repository, object repository will be available. In case if you want to publish the report, right, those functions or will be automatically available by default. But in case if you want to use the Selenium automation framework, so you have to customize your own code or your framework so that you can create the object repository, or in case if you want to provide any report or generate any report which can be shared with the respective stakeholder or your customers, you need to depend on some external plugin, right? You have to use some library, test data, and various usable module you have to create by yourself. So without a framework, a single test case may have millions lines of code and it will test the entire functionality of the application. Now suppose user need to modify any functionality later time. So is it possible to read the entire code again for a particular functionality? Definitely answer will be no, because reading so huge test cases will be tough and boring job, and user need lots of time to analyze the entire code. So that is the reasons definitely we will be going through some framework development, and whatever methods or functionality will be used multiple times, will be creating the reusable component, so that that particular component can be called as and when that they will be required. And in case of any change, we will definitely only update those reusable component instead of using the same code code multiple times and updating the same in the multiple lines of code. What are the main advantage of using test automation framework? So why you are using? Definitely in case there is no advantage, there is no point of creating the framework after investing so many times, right? So the first one is it save times and maintain schedule. That is the most important thing of using any automation framework. So automation testing is faster in execution and help to maintain overall project timelines. So in case we are automating, so definitely it will save time and save the overall cost, and definitely whatever schedule we are creating, so within a particular time frame, definitely project can be successful, project can be executed. Reusability of the code. Create one time and execute multiple times with less or no maintenance. So that is the concept of reusability code or the creating of the reusable functions. Easy reporting. Sometimes some of the frameworks generate automatic report after test execution. Sometimes you need to customize the report, but very easy to reporting. Easy for compatibility testings, it enables parallel test execution in different combination of operating system and the browser environment. Suppose I want to run our same test case in the Mac machine, in Windows or in Linux, and different browser like IE browser, Firefox or Chrome, we can do it. Low cost maintenance, it is cheaper compared to manual testing in the long run. Okay, so in case your test case will be used only 1 or 2 times, definitely you can't automate them. There is no point of automating. But in case if you want to run them multiple times for multiple iteration, right, so definitely it is cheaper compared to manual testing for the long run. Reliability, automated testing is more reliable as less manual intervention is required. So definitely sometimes there is no kind of manual intervention required, so definitely that will be more reliable. Repetitive multiple execution for same set of test case. It is mostly used for the regression testings, support execution of repeated test case. Minimal manual intervention. Test script can be run unindented, right? Suppose if we want to run the test cases without intervening our daytime effort, so definitely we can configure it, and in the nightly, right, we can run it automatically. So definitely there is no point of attending those executions. So it will be unintented. Test script can be run or executed unintented. Maximum coverage, it helps to increase overall test coverage, because same set of test case we can run using different combination of data. So definitely it will give us maximum coverage. What are the key parameters that a software testers need to keep in mind while developing any test automation framework? So these are the important parameter I have tried to depict here. So definitely any organization, any automation tester, any automation lead or any automation test manager or architect, they need to definitely, everyone need to maintain, right, some of the parameters so that your framework will be not in trouble. So handle script and data separately. Whenever you are creating the framework, right, definitely, right, automated test scripts should be clearly separated from your input data store. Whenever you are storing input data, it can be XML, Excel file, flat file or database, right, so that no modification will be required to the test script whenever, right, data must be changed for multiple input values. Library. A library should contain all reusable component and external connections such as databases, generic functions, application functions, etc. Software testers should be exposed only to the implemented library, and tests should be performed by invoking this library. Okay, so definitely that is the important concept of creating the library, right? Whenever you need to navigate to different page, so for each and every page, right, whatever web element you need to use, right, so you will be capturing the web element, and definitely you will be creating this common kind of component or method, right, so that those can be used multiple times. Coding standard. So in every organization or every automation project you need to maintain some standard, right, because otherwise it will be really trouble in case sometimes we want to update them, we want to maintain them, right. So scripting coding standard should always be maintained across the test automation framework, which will discourage individual coding practice and help in maintaining code uniformity, which make it easier for software tester and developer to interpret. Extensibility and maintenance. An ideal test automation framework should steadily support all new enhancements to the software application and allow modification of the existing feature. A reusable library example is like that. A reusable library can be created which would help in enhancing application feature with minimal effort, right. So definitely it supports new enhancement as well as it allows, right, any kind of modification of the existing feature. So suppose say today there was strain skin in the application, so there may be another new skin can be implemented in the skin, right, or some of the existing can be deleted, right. So definitely for the new skin we need to write our new methods or usable functions or right library, right. Similarly for the old one maybe we need to update it, right. So that is the another important aspects of whenever we need to keep in mind during the automation script automation framework development from the scratch. Script or framework versioning. Versioning of framework or script should be maintained either in local repository or versioning tool, right, which would help in easy monitoring of changes of the software code. So versioning is very much importantly required, right. That is the reason software configuration management tool need to be used. So suppose say today you already developed a version 1.2, right, and tomorrow customer is saying that you need to change something. So you already did it and you are created a version 1.3, and day after tomorrow customer is saying that no, this is not required, go to the original one, right? So in case you are not keeping the versions, right, how can you get the previous code? But in case you are maintaining the version, you can easily go back to the 1.2 version without again updating your code, right? So that is the main reason of the maintaining the version for the script or your framework. What are the type of testings can be performed through automation testing? It can be any automation testing, it can be UFT, it can be Selenium, it can be Tosca. So primarily automation testing supports smoke testing, unit testing, integration testing, functional testing, keyword testing, regression, data driven, and the black box testing. What type of test case do user need to pick up to automate? So whenever you are starting your automation testing, definitely you need to analyze that what are the different test cases or functionality you will be automating it, right? So users should focus on the test cases which should be executed in repetitive manner, such as regression test case, mock test case, or sanity test case. Users should focus on adopting a risk-based approach such that they only automating the most valuable test cases, right? Take great care of automating those most valuable features and making sure that they are automated correctly for the long-term sustainability. So whatever test cases, test data creation or smoke or sanity or regression will be used multiple times, they will be run right in multiple iteration. So those are the test cases first, we need to pick up for the automation. What type of test cases user do not pick up to automate, right? So sometimes few of the test cases will be run one time or two time, right? So definitely before picking up the test cases to automate, users should check whether the application is stable or not. In case application is not stable, definitely there is no point of automating, right? Because today you are developing this code for one screen, and tomorrow screen is getting changed. Some of the completely screen is getting changed, or few new field is getting added, or existing field is getting removed. So definitely your script will fail, right? So first is condition is that application should be stable enough and requirements should not change, right? Whatever you are automating, the requirement will change. So based on these two parameters, right, stable application stability and the requirement frozen, right, requirement not getting changed, right? So testers do not pick up test cases when the AUT changes frequently and the test cases which they run rarely and or maybe run only one times in the complete life cycle. What are the steps needed to follow in most of the automation testing project? So these are the following common steps which need to be followed in most of the automation testing project. First one is the test tool selection. Second is the defined scope of automation. Third one is planning, design and development. Fourth one is execution and defect reporting. Fifth one is the maintenance. The first initial thing is that you need to do some POC, right? Which tool will be suitable, and you need to what are your application all about? Is your web-based application, or whether it's Windows-based application, or whether it's a client-server-based application? In case it's web-based, definitely you can use Selenium. In case it is mobile, right, you can use APM. In case it is a client-server, you can go with Silk. In case it is Windows-based application, you can definitely go with the UFT. Once the tool selection is done and POC you successfully made the POC, you need to define the scope of automation. So what are the test cases you will be automating, right? And what your application is stable enough or not, your requirement is got frozen or not. So that then you can identify the test suite or test cases, right? Whether it's smoke suite you will be automating, whether the functional or the regression, right? Whether any kind of test data creation part will be automating, like that. After that you need to do the proper planning. Whenever how many resources will be there, right? What are the environment is required, right? And what is the timeline is required. Then you will be designing. During designing, you first inspecting all the pages, right? You are and creating the reusable component, creating the page object repository, and then you are designing your script, right? After the development means definitely once the script is designed, you are adding your assertion point, right? Definitely main objective is to validate some of the steps, right? So you will be adding some assertion point. Then you are doing your dry runs to fix out any kind of problem, any synchronization issue, like that. After that you will go for test execution, where you will be running your functional test case or regression or sanity, and in case of any failure you will be analyzing them, and in case it is a failure because of some defect, right, you will be logging them in some of the defect management tool, and those defects will be go into the defect life cycle. Right, one execution is done, you can prepare a report for the test automation and you can share the report to the respective stakeholder. The last one is the maintenance. The maintenance is the one of the important activity you need to write obey. Otherwise, there is no point of automating. Suppose today you completed automation of 100 script development, right? And you are not maintaining your script at all. So in the after 6 months again you need to run it for 2 days timeline. And whenever you are trying to run them, you found that if all the script is getting failed, and you within the 2 days timeline you will not able to run them again after fixing the code. So that is the reason why we need to maintain it, because sometimes your skin can get changed, sometimes your script can get corrupted, right? New enhancement can be there. So definitely you need to maintain it so that at the real time, whenever your automation script need to be executed, you can run them successfully and you can publish the report. Just mention down the top 10 testing framework, test automation framework used in the nowadays. So definitely there are a lot of frameworks available in market, but these are the basic important top 10 framework right now. Most of the project, most of the company is using. One the Selenium, then robot framework, right? WebDriver IO, Citrus, Cypress, Cucumber, Gauge, Serendipity, Carina, Earlgay. You can list down this, and definitely you can know in the importance of each and every framework. What are the best test automation framework used in real-time project, right? There are primarily 5 different test framework used, and those are like, first one is the modular driven test automation framework, data driven test automation framework, keyword driven test automation framework, hybrid testing framework, and the BDD or behavior driven development framework. These are the most common frameworks. Apart from that, I think few another framework is there, but these are the really common one. What is modular driven testing framework? So by the name itself, modular, right? You can see, right, modules, right? So in this framework, the tester can create test script module wise by breaking down the whole application into smaller module as per the client requirement and create test script individually. So what are the pros and cons? The advantage will be modular driven framework ensures the division of script that lead to easier maintenance and scalability. User can write independent test script. Whereas disadvantage is that the modular driven framework requires additional time in analyzing the test case and identifying usable flows. Right? The first one is the modular, where you are creating modules, and after that for each and every modules you are developing the script and then you are executing them. Data driven framework. So by the name itself, data driven. So it will be based on the data, right? So data driven framework in Selenium is a technique of separating the data set from the actual test case of the code. Since the test case is separated from the data set, user can easily modify the test case of particular functions without making change to the code. Data driven framework is used to drive test cases and shoot from an external data feed. External data feed can be CSV file, it can be Excel, XLX, or it can be database as well. Say user has to modify the code for login functionality, right? They can modify just the login functionality instead of having to modify any other feature dependent on the same code, right? So this example will demonstrate how to read the data from the Excel file and perform data driven testing using Selenium. WebDriver does not correctly support data reading of Excel file. Therefore, one need to use the plugins such as Apache PY for reading and writing on any Microsoft document. So this is the data driven framework, right? So data will be stored in some of the external file. It can be Excel, it can be CSV, or it can be database. After that, from those external sources, automation script Selenium is reading and writing the data. Reading the data first, and those data they are trying to import them in the application under test or AUT, right? After that, again from the AUT they are through the script also they are updating the test result or output data, right? So in the data driven framework, test data and code are stored separately, and then automation test script is connected with the test data stored in external files. So we need to rely on the Apache PY. So in case we want to download the Apache PY jar file, you need to navigate to that site, right? py.apache.org/download.html. After downloading the zip file, we need to place them along with the set of Selenium jars file and configure your build path, right? In case you was using Maven project, then definitely you can only download the dependency. You can add the dependency in the .xml file. So really immediately your Apache PY right, jar file will be set configured in your project. The coordination between the main code and the data set will be taken care by the test engine data provider, which is a library that comes as part of Apache PY jar files. What are the major advantage of data-driven testing framework? Okay, so definitely some of the advantages should be there. Otherwise, why we will be creating the framework, right? And why we are separating those framework in different stream, and where you are using the data-driven framework, right? So it allows testing of application with multiple set of data values during regression testing. It separates the test cases data from the executable test script. It allows the reusing of actions and functions in different tests. It generates test data automatically. This is helpful when large volume of random test data is necessary. It results in creation of extensive code that is flexible and easy to maintain. Let's developer and tester separate the logic of their test case or script from the test data. It allows execution of test cases several times, which help to reduce test case and script. It does not let change in test script affect the test data. By incorporating test data-driven testing using Selenium, tester can refine their test cases for more efficient execution. These shortens timelines, make their lives easier, and result in more thoroughly tested and better quality software. So that is the different advantages having in data-driven framework. So whenever there is an advantage, there may be some sort of disadvantage is there, right? That is the reason other framework came into the market. The first disadvantage is that this call for get expertise of scripting language required by the automation tool. Whenever if you want to deal with any of the framework, definitely you need to learn the framework concept and different programming language. So that is the one disadvantage. Otherwise, you are not knowing that language of the concept, so definitely you will not able to easily develop the framework. For every test cases under user need many data files. According to the number of screens being accessed, user may have many data input and may require many verifications. Hence, the test case need to keep the data files in different directories, right? In case of creating and maintaining the data files, user use right editor like Notepad, okay. But extra care is needed in having the desired format needed by the function or script which will be process the concerned file. Otherwise, this will get script processing errors due to the incorrect data file format or its content, right? So whenever if you want to do something, definitely we are opening either a Word document or Notepad, and we are keep maintaining some of the important aspects. But in case if you want to deal with the framework, you have to rely on some particular format files, right? Which will be CSV database or Excel file, and you need to maintain everything in proper way, right, and proper format. Otherwise, it will not be it cannot be done. What is keyword-driven framework in Selenium? You can see here. This is your application under states, right, and where the keyword library will be stored, and right. So, right, automation script will take the test input data, and those data will be entered in the application under test. And after that, sometimes those data can be sent as output data, and those output data will be interacting with the keyword library. So, keyword-driven framework is a technique in which all the operation and instruction to be performed are written separately from the actual test case. This similarity it has with data-driven framework is that the operation to be performed is again stored in an external file like Excel sheet. User can easily control and specify the functionality they want to test. So that is all about the keyword-driven framework. So what are the major advantages keyword-driven framework is having? So a single keyword can be used across multiple test scripts, so the code is reusable. User can write the desired test plan having desired input and verification data in the form of simple and convenient spreadsheet. In case some expert having expertise of scripting language, right, used by the automation tool can create utility script well before the creation of the detailed test plan. Then the testing engine is able to use the automation tool immediately through the spreadsheet input method, and for this they need not master the concert scripting language actually used by the automation tool, right. User becomes productive with the new testing tool far quickly, since they require to understand the particular format for use in the test plan and various desired keyword. This permit different or rescheduling of more exhaustive training on new tools at some more convenient time in future. So that are the major advantage of keyword driven testing framework. What are the disadvantage? So initial cost of setting up the framework is high and it is time consuming and sometimes it can be complex in nature. The tester is required to have great expertise over the scripting language of the test tool so that they can successfully create customized functions and utilities required for that particular application. Although the statement is valid for the other framework or other method as well, so other approach as well. The tester is required to learn several special format and keyword for creating the customized utility required for the applications. This process can take considerable times and can have adverse effect on the test plan development. However, this problem arises in the beginning only, right? As and when the tester is accustomed with this thing and learning this thing, so it will be easy for them to maintain the any kind of framework, right? So this problem will arise in the beginning only, and when the testers get enough acquaintance with the process, they are able to create test case very much faster. It can be faster, it can be less time consuming. What are the major difference between data driven and keyword driven framework? So keyword driven framework is easy to maintain due to more abstraction layer between the test script, test data, keyword, etc. Whereas data driven framework comparatively harder to maintain since the abstraction is only between test data and test script, right? Planning has to be extensive and precise for keyword driven framework, whereas planning is easy since it is only needed for test data and test script. It is possible to write test script even before the product has finished the development stage. So we can parallelly, whenever there is a development is going on, we can parallelly also work on the development framework, right, for the keyword driven approach. Whereas one data driven framework, we have to wait for the development to finish. After that, once the development is getting finished and the product is ready and stable enough, then we can write our test script for the test with the help of data driven framework approach. What is hybrid framework? So with the name hybrid, you can find hybrid means the combination of some of the framework. So hybrid framework in Selenium is a concept where testers are using the advantage of both keyword driven framework as well as data driven framework. It is easy to use framework which allows manual tester to create test cases by just looking at the keyword, test data and object repository without coding in the framework. Here the keyword as well as test data are externalized. Keyword are maintained in a separate Java class file and the test data can be maintained in either properties file, Excel file, or can be the data provider of a test engine framework. So that is the approach for the hybrid. It will be a combination of data driven as well as the keyword driven framework. In most of the interviewer asked whether the Selenium is a framework or a tool, right, automation testing tool. So definitely the answer will be Selenium is an open source pre-automation testing tool for specifically for the web-based application, but not a framework. Whenever if you want to give the framework example, you can give this the modular driven, data driven, keyword driven, hybrid or BDD, right? And also test engine, JUnit also framework. JUnit is specially used for the developer, whereas test engine is specially used for the testing team for the functional regression or other testing. Why do user need to use data driven framework in Selenium? So definitely you already know what data driven framework all about and what is the advantages, but still user need to implement a data driven framework when they have to execute the same test script with different set of test data. For example, user need to test the login or register to a web page with 100 different data set of username or password. So definitely they will be creating an Excel where the column will be user ID and password, and each and every row they will be providing the user and password details, and definitely they will be calling those user ID and password so that they can easily check that whether the 100 user ID and password are working fine or not, and out of 100 how many is not working properly. In which kind of application keyword driven framework is the best choice? In case user want to test multiple functionality of the application under test, they can go for the best option keyword driven framework in Selenium. Therefore, this keyword driven framework sometimes called as functional automation testing framework. Keyword driven framework is also known as table driven testing because a sequence of test steps and their corresponding inputs are implemented by using a set of keyword in tabular format. In most of the interview, interviewer will ask that in case you are currently using any framework, or in case you are having some hands-on experience, just elaborate the framework, right? So you can mention that, you in case you are more experienced, you can mention that you already created some of the framework. In case you are less experienced, you can mention that already framework was developed right by your experienced person, or your organization already did the framework. So just you are adding the script or mentoring the script, right, with the help of framework. So already organization where suppose sometimes the tester is working, right, for working for using that framework, right, because every organization can have the established custom framework, right, or sometimes the tester have an experience on that framework. So it's easy to handle all your script to execute and generate log, screenshot and report by using this framework. So you can mention like that already some of the framework is there, or you have created some framework. With this framework you are definitely having some test scripts, right, and in case those script is need to modify, or some of the new script need to be added, you can do it, right, and you can generate the custom report, right, with the proper screenshot, and you can run them, you can maintain your script, so and you can run them as and when required. Have you ever involved in framework design in your project? So that is the common question definitely interviewer will ask. So your answer will be based on your experience, right? In case you are a beginner or a fresher or having below 2 years of experience, your answer sometimes can be no, in case you did not completely work on the framework development. So you can tell that you did not get a chance to create a framework from the scratch, but definitely you have used the framework in your project which is already available in your organization. In case you are having experienced tester and with more than 2+ years of experience, your answer will be definitely yes. Otherwise, interviewer might not feel good about your exposure or capability in Selenium automation framework concept, right? So it will be depend based on your overall experience in the automation testing, not on the overall testing. How many test cases you have automated per day? So that is the generic question interviewer used to ask, right, to the candidate to see whether they really did automated few of the test cases or not, or just they are having the theoretical concept only, right? So answer will be based on the experience user work for multiple projects. It depends on the test case scenario complexity and the length and the complexity. So definitely for the first time, in case any framework is developed from the scratch, so lot of additional effort will be there to customize the framework, to create the framework, to see whether the sample test is running or not successfully. After that, lot of automation testers can work parallelly. So generally, basically, user did automate 2 to 5 test scenario per day when the complexity is limited, right? In case it is complex, sometime only one, or even sometime one test case it might require 2 to 3 days even, in case based on the complexity. So your answer will be that sometime I can automate 2 to 3 test case, 5 test case even if the really less complex. Sometime it can be one test case per day, and sometime it is very end-to-end test case or critical test case. Sometime one test case might take 2 to 3 days even. So it will completely depend based on the test cases complexity. What are the exceptions and error, and what is the difference between them? So in case of you are dealing with any framework, or you are writing your script in the Selenium WebDriver, so definitely you will be finding some error or exceptions, right? So interviewer used to ask that did you face any kind of exception or error in your real-time framework development? So exception is nothing but they occurs in the programmer's code which can be handled and resolvable, right? So sometimes that can be arithmetic exception. If you want to divide anything by 0, arithmetic or divide by 0 exception can become null pointer exceptions, class not found exceptions, right? Those are the exceptions. Sometimes can be array index out of bound exception. So these are the exceptions, right? These are the known issue, and definitely automation tester need to fix those exceptions with the help of either try catch block, finally block, all the block is available. Otherwise, in case you are not handling those exceptions, your execution will stop there. But in case you are handling exceptions, so it will be thrown the exception, but your remaining line of code execution will not be stopping. And sometimes error might comes, right, whenever you are running your script, right? So error is not resolvable by the programmers. Error occur due to lack of system resources, right? Sometimes stack overflow error, hardware error, JVM error, right? You are not having sufficient kind of RAM or hard disk file, right? So that sometimes error can be run, and definitely it cannot be solved by the testers. So sometimes disk space need to increase, or your like hardware, RAM, or your that need to be increased. So that is the 25 interview questions and answers, like you I mean, interviewer used to ask on the they want to judge you, right? Whether you are comfortable with the automation concept, and in case you are already spent your time in the automations skip development or maintaining the skip, like that. Okay, so I'll create more questions and answer in the next upcoming session. So that's all, 25 question and answer from today's session. Thank you.